Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Trayambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. Namaste to all. Thank you for inviting me to share what has been received. That is all that we do here. What is received, we share. And as Rukmini said, this is a wonderful text, a prayer in the form of a prayer. And it's not just a prayer, it is much more than a prayer. It is a treatise that helps us to grow spiritually and to prepare the heart and the mind to get to a place of equanimity, emotional growth, and what we call vairagya. Vairagya means dispassion, objectivity. And we'll see how that is in the coming days. The text has got a long title, Siva-Aparādha-Kṣamāpaṇa-stotram. We'll take the shortest word and get that out of the way. Stotram. From stu to praise. Stu, because of some grammar rules, becomes sto. And then tra is a short form for trayate. Stu to praise. So stavanat trayate. That which protects when you praise it. This is a very nice word, stotram. Because when you praise something which is in the world, it seldom protects. Or even if it protects, let's say you praise an individual because you want some protection or you want some validation, acknowledgement, then they may acknowledge you, validate you, but for a short time, or it will be full of conditions. I will scratch your back if you scratch my back. This is the way of the world. It will not be unconditional. So stotra, therefore, is not something that, is not used for the praise of individuals or things in the universe. It is used mostly to describe a relationship with the Almighty, with Bhagavān, Ishvara, with the Goddess, with the Lord, however we invoke that nameless, formless one. It is nameless and formless, but no name and form are away from which. That is the force that we are talking about. From the standpoint of the Sanatana Dharma, this is what we consider. And so there is an understanding that in praising Bhagavan, Ishvara, we are praising that which is limitless. This is why it is called stotram. But when we praise an individual, it can go to their head. You tell somebody you are wonderful, and then it can lead to some ego issues, arrogance, etc. But it doesn't happen with that which is limitless, because no matter how much you praise the infinite is being what it is. It is a safe place for praising, for invocation. Therefore, it is called stotram. because the infinite is not going to be flattered upon being called infinite. Oh, you are infinite. So it's not going to be flattered because it is exactly what it is. And no matter how much, whatever is said, there is not going to be any danger. In fact, there is the opposite of that. There is protection. So the stotra, the tra here means trayate, protects. The song of praise or the chant of praise protects the chanter. How it will become very clear as we see the words of this, it will become extremely clear. So it protects the words of it protects the chanter, it protects the person who is praying. How? Why? Because that limitlessness is the only thing which is really yearned for. This is what one yearns, this is what one wants. And what is this limitless? Nobody knows, but this is where the yearning is. I want to be free, I want to be whole, I want to be happy. And then each of these has a caveat. How long you want to be free? Forever. How long you want to be happy? Forever. And that forever is this limitlessness that we are talking about. That yearning in the heart is what leads one to seek. Almost as, the moment one is born, one is a seeker. Seeking, 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 not finding, not finding, not finding, one life gone. Seeking, 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 life number 2 gone. And this is how the whole life is about seeking something or the other in the hope that somehow I will arrive at this limitlessness, or I will produce this infinitude that I am wanting, or somehow I will stumble upon this limitlessness. This is the hope, this is the idea. Without understanding a basic fact that which is not a product of action is what we call limitless. And if there is such a thing called limitlessness, it cannot be outside of oneself. You cannot say, there goes wonderful limitlessness, I'm away from it. Then you will be delimiting it. It will be delimiting you. And so therefore, if there is something called limitless, it should include the individual longing for it. So limitlessness is already one's nature. It is already the essence of one's very being, which is not a product, which is not something to produce, something to strive for, which is something to understand. So we proceed from a place of action whose results at best are elusive and at worst are finite. So we proceed from a place of action and grow into understanding one's own nature as something that is already there. This is the journey. This is the journey in the Hindu tradition. This is the journey in what we call Vedanta. This knowledge of gaining this understanding of oneself as already free and whole, which happens to be situated at the end of the Vedas, the message of the Upanishads, the vision of Vedanta. This is what it is called. So to gain this, so the idea is to graduate from being addicted to action. Nobody is really addicted to action per se. One is addicted to the results of action, therefore one is addicted to action. So therefore one grows from being addicted to this endless loop, action, result of action, more result of action. etc., etc. One gets out of that to sit and revel in the glory of oneself. In short, this is the journey, this is the vision. So, does that mean we throw away action altogether? Absolutely not. We recognize its limitations, but at the same time, the actions can be harnessed for many things, especially self purification. We heard we heard a little bit about this from Swami Shambhu yesterday. Self purification, antahkarana shuddhi. Another thing also he spoke about very eloquently was the focus, chitta shuddhi and chitta naishchalyam. For these, the actions become valuable tools for self growth. And in the tradition, we recognize 5 kinds of actions. What are they? The first one is called Nitya Karma. Nitya Karma means things that need to be done every day, whether you like it or not. Includes brushing the teeth in the morning, Nitya Karma, and includes also some obligatory, in the Shastra, in the teachings, some obligatory way of relating to the altar that one has at home. Puja is a Nitya Karma. So all these are called Nitya Karma, that which has to be done every day. Cooking, cleaning, all these things come under Nitya Karma. Then there are certain occasional karmas, naimittika karma they are called. The second variety of karma action is called naimittika karma, that which happens once in a while. Like certain things are celebrated annually, birthdays, etc. Naimittika karma, certain things are done, and maybe there is some customs that people follow in their households. Maybe you go for a movie, maybe you have some people over, maybe you have a cake, candles, whatever it is. This does not happen every day. So it is naimittika karma. Then there are actions that one does because one is wanting certain kinds of results to accrue to them. There are certain pursuits, such as security. Security is a very interesting pursuit, a universal pursuit called artha, security. And or, there is something that one wants. It could be something very small, or it could be something big. It could be some job that one is wanting. It could be some other goals, a little less concrete. I want to have more friends. I want to be more famous. I want to have more of an influence over society, etc., etc. So then, for those reasons, certain actions in keeping with those goals are unleashed. They are called kamya karma. They are optional primarily because you don't need to do them. They're not obligatory. It is not said in the Vedas, please follow your desires and do these kinds of karma so that you can get it. It is optional. One does them because one wants something out of them. That is how one does them. That is why one does them. This is called kamya karma, the third kind of karma. So we have 3 now: nitya, naimittika, and kamya. Then, in the process of doing this kamya karma, one makes mistakes. Naturally, even in nitya karma, there are omissions and commissions. In naimittika karma, there are omissions and commissions. So one can make so many, there could be slip-ups. And when we have puja, we say 16-step puja. And sometimes one forgets arati and then goes back, oh no, I forgot arati, I have to do this. One forgets naivedya and does it after the arati. So many missteps are there. And so this is one more thing that is there. And and then there are certain karmas that one must never do. Never to do these karmas. What are they? They are called Nishiddha karma. Hurting somebody, defrauding somebody, injuring somebody willfully. We're not talking accidentally, willfully. These are all not to be done at all. Nishiddha means prohibited karma. This is the fourth kind of karma. Alas, one does it because of omissions, commissions, and because of the strong draw of various kinds of desires hiding in the heart. So there are certain valid ways of desire fulfillment, but one comes under the pressure of those desires to fulfill them quickly, even at the cost of other people's chances, even at the cost of riding roughshod over other people's feelings. This is what the Bhagavad Gita describes as Vega. Vega means pressure. Shaknoti ihaiva yas sodhum kama krodhodbhavam vegam. Vegam, the vega, the pressure born of various desires that are competing in the heart for fructification, and the krodha and the anger. So these are the impulses that lead one to transgress what is called dharma. Dharma means it's a universal matrix of norms that one follows. That one follows because it is the only way to lead a life along with others without any conflict. I am polite to you because I expect the same thing from you. I don't steal from you because I hope that you will also treat me the same way. This is the dharma, samanya dharma. And so therefore, anytime one violates dharma, there is nishiddha karma happens. Anytime one violates the dharma, it is wrong karma, which gives, all these karmas will have effect. But we'll see the effect of it. Let's finish the discussion about the last one. And so what to do when there is nishiddha karma? Some kind of atonement is needed. Some making up is needed. Partly because there is guilt and pain in the heart, and partly because of the law of karma itself that needs to be taken care of. And what is the law of karma? As you sow, so shall you reap. That is what it is. Very universal. And that is the law of karma. And so whenever dharma is transgressed, this gives rise to uncomfortable situations, either in the here or in the hereafter. Even in other lives, one can have difficulties. So whenever there are difficulties, we say it is because of some karma that one had done in this life or some other life. This is how the Shastra, the teaching, presents these kinds of things. So therefore, there is a way to help ourselves out of the wrong karmas that one does, even without knowing, every single day of one's life. So many times. I mean, even that is why we have this, what is that, custom for sadhus during the rainy season in India not to walk too much and not to travel for 2 months. It is called Chaturmasya. Actually, it used to be 4 months, but then it was reduced to 2. And all the swamis stay in one place, because when we walk, we should not accidentally step on some of those worms and other rain creatures, insects that come. That is the idea. But still, despite taking care, something may happen. Something gets killed, something gets stifled, even in the course of just sweeping a place, one could do that. And so therefore there is a way to not come under the effect of this kind of a cycle of nishiddha karma. To clear the debt of this karmic load, we have what is called the final karma, prayashchitta karma. Prayashchitta means atonement. This is the place of atonement. This is the place of the karma of atonement. And it has two purposes. One is there is this feeling of relief, because one is connecting to something larger than the situation. Otherwise, the guilt is very much consuming. In fact, the whole life is about guilt and hurt. Guilt and hurt together comprise samsara. If you want a one-line definition of samsara, it is the alternating experience of guilt and hurt. The Taittiriya Upanishad puts it very beautifully. Kimaham sadhuna karavam, kimaham papam iti. What does that mean? Why did I do the wrong thing? Why didn't I do the right thing? This is what it means. This is the pain. How did I do this? How could I have been so stupid? Why am I doing this? Because one is hard on oneself. One is constantly questioning, one is constantly second guessing, one is, upset at oneself. And at times when one is not upset at oneself, then one is affected by other people's omissions and commissions. This is called hurt. Being affected by one's own omissions and commissions, this is called guilt. So this is a very, the prayashchitta karma, the karma of atonement, helps one to get some relief from this relentless onslaught of guilt, from that pain, which traces back to a form of non-self acceptance. That is the cause of guilt. And what is the cause of non-self acceptance? Self-ignorance. Self-ignorance, we know, is the cause of everything. So that is the final cause, the ultimate cause. But the relative cause here is not accepting oneself. And so there is guilt, there is pain. Where can one take it? If you take the pain and, on if you take it to some local person or set of individuals, the relief again is finite. And therefore, what we do in the tradition, you take it to the infinite. That is where it is resolved. Because in this act of prayer, the limited, the one who considers oneself limited, the limited I surrenders to that altar which is limitless. And in so doing, something wonderful happens. Because the limitations are gone, limitations being finite are gone, there is in that surrender, all that is left is limitless. And this is how this particular text proceeds in helping one to rid the heart of feeling tied to one's omissions and commissions. The author, this is attributed to Ādi Śaṅkara, and the author here talks about, does a very, 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 very cleverly leads all of us not only to overcome feelings of guilt, wherever it may be, or however it may be directed, not only to overcome the sense of guilt or notions of pain, but also to prepare the heart for self-knowledge, for Upanishads, for Vedanta. Very, very cleverly done. So the guilt could be so many things. The guilt could be, I didn't do this, or I was unkind, so many omissions, so many commissions, I should have done this better. Why do I keep doing this? This is how the guilt is expressed. It could be, the reasons could be so many. But when we look at it from the standpoint of Ādi Śaṅkara's statements here, ultimately the guilt is due to a sense of disconnection from oneself and the whole. The cause of the guilt is alienation, a notion of alienation from Bhagavān, from Ishvara. And that disconnection leads to so many ways of doing so many things which one finds as unsavory, which one wants to then correct, which one wants to then atone for. And therefore, atonement here is directed to Lord Shiva. Why Lord Shiva? Many, many reasons. Shiva is called Ashutosha. That is his other name. Lord Shiva is called Ashutosha, meaning quickly pleased, very quickly pleased. You don't want to go to somebody and say, I'm so sorry, and they go, no, I'm not going to forgive you. And you don't want that kind of an avatara to pray to. So therefore, somebody who is quickly pleased, which is very, very nice. And Lord Shiva is also seen as, in northern India, we call Lord Shiva by the name of Bhole Baba, meaning innocent Lord. Innocent and perhaps even, naive, because he gives boons. You just take his name. This is the whole tradition is filled with stories. You take his name and he gives boons immediately. He doesn't see that this is Ravana, which is the villain of Ramayana, asking the boon. Sure, why don't you give me Atmalinga? Atmalinga means, why don't you give me that, which is the secret for world domination and immortality? Sure, here you go. And then, oh no, what have I done? And of course, Vishnu has to come to his rescue many, many times. So here Vishnu takes the avatara of a small boy and then reminds Ravana that he has to do his sandhya, he has to do his morning prayers by dunking into the water 3 times. And one of the conditions of holding this linga, Shiva linga of immortality received from Lord Shiva was that it should never be put down. Otherwise, it would take root right there and it would not bless the person who gained it. So he wanted to go and do pratishtha in Sri Lanka, and then he could not put it down. And the small boy, in the form of Vishnu, in the form of the small boy, says, "Don't worry, I'll hold it." Are you sure? Yeah, I'll hold it. Give. Are you holding it? Yes. And you just, you have to take 3 dips. I'm counting. 1. Oh, you came out too quickly. Again, go. And then he's, unable to even take a dip. He's keeping on looking. Are you holding it? Are you letting it? No, don't worry. I'm small, but I'm very strong. I'm holding it. I'm holding it. I'm holding it. And then by the time he gets confidence and trust and does the 3rd dip and comes out, the boy suddenly says, I got so tired, I put it on the ground. And then Ravana is beside himself, comes and tries to yank this out of the ground, the linga out of the ground. And he's so strong, it grows ears, because he takes hold of the linga and and wherever he has held it, it has grown a pair of ears. And so you can still see this. It is in a place called Gokarna in coastal Karnataka in India. So it's very, very interesting. So like this, and even in the story of Bhasmasura, the Demon, we don't have devil, we have demons who are devotees gone wrong with a hubris. So we neither have devil nor do we have evil. So then even in that case, what happened? This fellow wanted, anything he touched to reduce to ashes. And Lord Shiva said, sure, tathastu. And then what did he do? The first thing he wanted to test his boon on was Lord Shiva himself. He ran after Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva again had to run to Lord Vishnu. These are all stories that tell us that Lord Shiva is extremely, what should I say, benevolent and easy to please, easy to win over. So we need an avatara like that to direct the prayer of atonement. Easy to win over, easy to please. Another reason why Lord Shiva is selected for atonement always is because the word Shiva itself means auspicious and pure. This is what one aspires to be. One wants to be purified and cleansed of the papas. One wants to be purified of one's omissions and commissions. So we take this to the altar that is all pure, all free from any kind of papa, demerits, karmic demerits, or any kind of anger, fear. So we take it to that altar, which, like a crystal, is clear. No matter with what color it associates, it does not take on that color. There is objectivity, and there is some beauty in all this. The third reason Shiva becomes the befitting altar for a prayer of atonement is because he reminds the very persona of Lord Shiva reminds us that all that is here is finite. That is why ash is associated with Lord Shiva. Always you'll see him. So, if you see pictorial depictions, there will be lot of vibhuti, ash. And vibhuti, ash doesn't mean, the word vibhuti does not mean ash. Vibhuti means glory. The glory of this universe is that it is finite, and the glory is that the one that is watching this universe is this infinite I that needs to be discovered. Once a small child asked me, what is the difference? What is the difference between Vishnu and Shiva? And I said, Vishnu, cash, Shiva, ash. This is the way to remember. Okay. So then, so for these reasons, it becomes a very befitting altar to sit and direct all of one's lamentations. And in the text, all the lamentations are made into one big lament. And what is that one big lament? I wish I had discovered you earlier. What was I thinking? What was I doing? You meaning my own self. I wish I had done this job of connecting to myself, to the truth of myself, a lot earlier than now. I wish I had not spent my time doing this, that, and the other, and neglecting everything in the process. And all for what? All the gains that I received, very time bound. And the more that I pursued these time bound gains, the more cross I got, the more unfulfilled I got, the more I went round and round, restless, frustrated, disillusioned, and disenchanted. So he talks like this, and then he traces, in so doing, he traces the whole life cycle of the human being to show how fraught the life cycle of the human being is with the sixfold modifications that we keep talking about. Birth is one modification, and then death, of course, the final modification. In between this birth and death are sandwiched 4 more modifications. The second one, asti. So birth, jayate, asti. Asti means survives birth, which itself is a big triumph. That is one more modification. Shad vikaraha, these are called 6 modifications. Jayate, asti. Then viparinamate. The third one is called blossoms. Blossoms, becomes capable of reproduction. Then after that, no, there is one more before that. Vardhate. Vardhate means grows up. Then viparinamate, blossoms, reproduces. Then after that it is what? Apakshiyate, becomes weak, becomes infirm. And then finally vinashyati. So to show that these vikaras, these modifications are extremely painful, extremely time bound. And the more one is invested in these modifications or to try to stave off the modifications, starting with gray hair, etc., etc. And one makes a lot of attempt to stave off these modifications. Gray hair, that only applies if one has hair. Okay, if you don't have hair, then this is not an issue. So like this, he talks about how futile it is trying to prevent or alter these modifications, because they can and they will continue to happen. There is only one way out. And what is that way? That way is to get to understand the changeless one, which is oneself, the one who is the witness of these modifications, who does not come under their spell. So with these words, let us just chant the first verse, and then we will continue with it tomorrow. आदौ कर्म प्रसंगात् कलयति कलुषं मात्र कुक्षौ स्थितं मां विन्मूत्रा मध्ये क्वथयति नितरां जाठरो जातवेदाः यद्यद्वै तत्र दुःखं व्यथयति नितरां शक्यते केन वक्तुम् क्षन्तव्यो मे पराधः शिव 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 भो श्रीमहादेव शम्भो. Ādau, in the beginning. Karma prasangat, because of some residual karma I had, because of which I was born. What happened? Kalayati kalusham. The difficulties have already started because of this karma. And what is that? Where did they start? Matra, for me, mam, my difficulties. Mam means my difficulties. Difficulties for me already started. When did they start? Matra kukshau sthitam mam. What kind of I? The I that was in the mother's womb. Prenatal difficulties. So many things are there. Prenatal defects are there for the baby. So many problems are there. Congenital defects are there, which are seen during the sonography, ultrasound, etc. All this is there. And even if it is not there, he says this is not the best time, because confined in a small space, growing all the time. And then he doesn't mince any words. And then he says, Vinmutra amedhya madhye kwathayati nitaram jatharo jata vedaha. So what happened here is that because of the fruits of previous births, I was being cooked in the mother's womb, and swimming in my own excreta, in my own excrement. I was just swimming and all these things. And then yadyadvai tatra dukkham vyathayati nitaram. All the kinds of difficulties, all the kinds of pains and sorrows of pre-birth, shakyate kena vaktum. Who can narrate these gory stories of those 9 months? Nobody is there to narrate. Why? Because the baby cannot even talk. Baby can't, the baby which is in a fetal form cannot even express itself, cannot even talk, is unable to say it is in pain, if it is in pain. And who knows what all is happening. And if the mother overeats, perhaps the baby is just stifled to one side, put on to one side, who knows? All these things are there. And so, therefore, who? Shakyate kena vaktum. How can anyone narrate this or relate this at all? And this is, this is the beginning of what we call life. And this is because of karma, one's own karma. One's own karma decides the parentage. One's own karma decides what kind of a mother one will have. And one's own karma decides what kind of a birth, whether it's a breech birth or a cesarean birth, normal birth. So many types of births are there. Birth itself is so difficult. And then what kind of birth? All this is already because of the karmic residues, it is decided. And so, therefore, what? Kshantavyaha. You are the only one who can forgive. You have to accommodate and endure this. Whatever, whatever the pain I bring to you, you please endure, because I don't know anybody else that will. So please endure this. Ksham, it means to accommodate. It also, by extension, means to forgive. So, kshantavyaha me aparādhaha. Aparādhaha means my omissions and commissions. Whatever I have done in order to deserve this, you have to please take care of that. You have to remove that, the effects of those karma, so that I can, I can be freed of that. So, aparādhaha, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. For good measure, it is chanted 3 times because there is desperation in the heart. When there is desperation, one, the surrender, is like that. It is a surrender arising out of a desperation. Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. Bho. Bho means it's a particle of respect, for respect. And who is this Shiva? Mahadeva. Mahadeva means the Lord of all lords, and the Lord that is great. Great because in this form he forgives, he is very forgiving. And who are you? Shambhu, Shambho, vocative. Sham bhavati. Sham means it's a auspiciousness. One that is in the form of auspiciousness is Shambhu. Bhu means the one who becomes a source of auspiciousness for everyone who invokes him. So, O Shambhu, O Shambho, you have to forgive me because nobody else will. More we will see later. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.